Hello and welcome to The Real Life Buyer. My guest today is Amit Malik, the president of WadzPay Japan, Asia Pacific and Australia. Amit is a business, customer and people-focused leader with strong beliefs in inclusion and diversity. He has had an outstanding career, having worked in the C-suite for many years in positions including CEO, Managing Director and Vice President at companies including ABN AMRO Bank, Bank of America and Aviva. In this episode, I'm excited to learn more about and discuss blockchain technology with Amit. So without further ado, I welcome Amit onto the podcast. Hi, Amit.
Hi, Dave. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. Really excited to talk to you and have a conversation. And thank you for the introduction. Very kind.
No problem at all. Now, I'm sure our audience will be very keen to understand more about you as an individual, really what brought you to the place you are now, why you chose to work at WadzPay, and what is all this blockchain technology and why did you become interested in it more importantly. So if you could explain where you came from, where you started, perhaps some of your career journey about WadzPay and why you're interested in blockchain, that would be lovely.
Thank you. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening to your listeners, wherever you are. Thank you for joining in and giving Dave and me your time. Really appreciate that. Dave, my background, like you said, it's been 24 years of experience across sectors like insurance, banking, started in FMCG. Throughout this journey, I've been fortunate to work with organizations, like you said, 10 years with Aviva Life Insurance, where I was CEO and Managing Director in my last role. American Express, I got to work in India and Malaysia with them, so I had that experience. Bank of America Continuum, RBS, which is Royal Bank of Scotland, and GSK. GSK, again, India and Sri Lanka. This helped me gain insights and expertise in business transformation, growth strategy, and digital innovation. So, that's kind of been my background. What got me interested in blockchain? Interesting question. I think what caught my eye was the disruptive potential that I saw in the technology. And when blockchain was coming in, it was around for some time, but it's just not another technological advancement as per me. Personally, I feel it's a paradigm shift on how we will approach transactions, security, and transparency within the financial landscape. And this is not limited to only financial industry. It has uses in all industries. That's personally what I feel. I think the decentralized nature and robust security mechanism of blockchain immediately struck me as a game changer for traditional financial systems, because that's the industry that I typically come in. Imagine, you have an idea which can revolutionize process, which can enhance security, and fundamentally change the way we handle financial transactions. I think to me, that was very intriguing. Someone who's into growing the business, into business transformation, I couldn't overlook that potential impact that I feel blockchain will have in reshaping that industries. So when I left Aviva and I was on a break and WadzPay came calling, I actually grabbed the opportunity to say, this is my opportunity to be a part of something that's going to be in the future. Coming to WadzPay, my role, I'm the president, like you said, for Japan, Asia Pacific, Australia. Like I always joke with my boss, from India starting this side to the coast of US, everything that's the remit there, which is also very humbling. And it allows me to leverage my passion, that I have for this new technology. I think the role gives me and my team an incredible platform to contribute to the adoption of blockchain. Based solutions in the markets that we service. We are constantly as a team exploring ways to harness this technology. In how do we streamline processes? How do we improve security? How do we provide innovative financial solutions that can truly make a difference, in our customers and their customers, So in essence, for your listeners, my interest in blockchain technology systems is for its transformative potential in the traditional finance. And my role today allows me to be at the forefront of this change, driving innovation and growth in the digital financial space. And I'm very excited.
Sounds intriguing. Certainly having a position with some wonderful regions of the world. Sounds pretty good to me. And, a blockchain is something that's really, again, hit the world by storm in the same way that AI, I think, is hitting everybody as well now. But I still feel there's a lot of confusion in industry about what is blockchain, talking to colleagues and other people out in industry, and just the words blockchain doesn't mean a lot. People can't visualize things. I need to visualize something to see it, to really understand it. So can you do us a favor? Certainly, if for me, if nothing else, if the audience understands, fantastic, well done. But if you like to know, if we would all like to know more about what blockchain technology is in simple terms, can you explain what the concept is and how people can understand it in perhaps a more, should we say, basic way?
Simply explaining blockchain, that's a tough one. Well, let me take a shot. Let me take a shot for your listeners, and I'll try and simplify as much as I can. So, see, blockchain is like a ledger. Now, think of ledger like a book, right? Ledger like a book where we write down transactions. So now imagine that this ledger or a book where we write down transactions is digital. So blockchain is like having many copies of this digital book. So let me further simplify it and explain. When a transaction happens, it is written down in a page of this book. But the special part is everyone has a copy of this book. Whoever has a copy of this book writes down the same transaction in their book at the same time. So let's say Dave did a transaction and wrote in his book. 15 other people who have a copy of that book writes the transaction at the same time in their books. So everyone's book looks exactly the same. Now the cool part, if someone tries to mess with their copy, fudge, tear out a page, change an entry, it's easy to spot because everyone else's book still shows the original information. So instead of one person guarding this book, it is kept safe by many people, books, or in the real world computers together. So it's super secure. If one has an issue, the others will be able to show the correct information. Now substitute this ledger or a book with a block. And what you have is a series of blocks bound together in a chain of computers called the blockchain. Transaction gets grouped into blocks before they are added to the chain. So each transaction gets a unique hash or a digital fingerprint, or a code, digital code like a fingerprint. That's what they get. This code makes it really hard to change any of the previous entries into the blocks without changing the whole chain. So that's how it stays. Now, this block isn't just added by one person or an authority. It needs approval from the majority of the network to be added. So once approved, it's added onto a chain in a way that it makes it nearly impossible to alter any previous books, ledger, computers without changing the entire chain. That's the security part, which is super tough to tamper. So in the end, it's blocks of data joined together in a chain over multiple computers. That's what is called a blockchain. So I hope I've been able to keep it very simple for your listeners.
That's really interesting. It's a great way to help me to visualize it. So thank you for that. Some people think, well, hold on a minute, is this just like a database then? Is it a shared database? If it is, why is that important? Or does it differ from a traditional database? What's the nuance there?
So, all of us, and I'm sure most of your listeners would understand traditional systems, right? Where data is typically stored in a central location and controlled by a single authority or a couple of people. Changes can be made into that data by authorized individuals, which sometimes leads to vulnerabilities or data manipulation. Now, unlike traditional databases, like I said, blockchain is spread out, like it's decentralized, it's distributed. No single person controls it. So that is what makes it transparent and it makes it tough to tamper with. The importance of blockchain lies in its potential to transform various industries. It brings trust and transparency without relying on intermediaries. I think that's the important part. For example, in finance, a blockchain can enable faster, secure, transparent transactions without the need for a bank. Right? Or in supply chain management, in the world that many of your listeners and you come from, it can track products from origin to destination, reducing fraud and ensuring authenticity. So in essence, blockchain technology offers a new way to store data and manage data. It's a step up to the traditional databases, if I would say. without the need for intermediaries, but still being more secure and transparent. And I think that's what makes it a very promising solution for various industries which are seeking this security, this transparency, in their operations. That's why it's a little different from traditional databases.
Okay, so clearly there's a very strong application, as you say, in the financial industry, banking transactions and so forth. You mentioned supply chain, obviously the movement of goods and services and such. Are there any other particular applications? We're talking insurances, is there other applications you think, real world examples that particularly or strongly benefit from this?
Oh, like I said in the beginning, Dave, I think a lot of industries have been impacted and will get impacted. So let me take a handful of them, industries which touch our daily life, something like tourism, right? Transport and tourism. Now, even WadzPay itself has a blockchain-based pilgrim program, which we are launching in big way in Southeast Asia with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which is a solution for Hajj and pilgrim travelers, right? So that's on blockchain. So that's an example, right, which impacts millions of pilgrims who go to Hajj. Healthcare, and I will not name companies, but I'll give an example from securing health records for citizens using blockchain today is happening. Creating keyless signatures on the blockchain for health records with enhanced security. After COVID, blockchain has been used to track disease outbreak data, improving faster disaster relief and response. So I think that's happened, right? Financial services we already talked about, collaborating. The one thing that I didn't talk about is blockchain is being now used. A blockchain system is being used to manage bank guarantees. So that's where it's found its own self. If you look at governments there, the UAE government, we all know, is aiming to become the world's first blockchain-powered state. So, the impact from industries to government. They are exploring opportunities in health records, like I said, in shipping, and many more areas. I don't know how many of the listeners know, but closer home to Europe is a country called Estonia, which is partnering with a leading company to move public records onto blockchain for greater security and accessibility. So it's not the size of the thing. Retail, an industry that touches us almost every day. Companies are building decentralized market for trading goods and services without intermediaries. We have a retail solution where you can accept payment in virtual assets, digital assets, and convert that into fiat to the merchant. So we have that, and we are experimenting with that in UAE markets. Creating a blockchain-based loyalty program. So the loyalty programs typically expire and they run out of time. How do they move on to blockchain? I think that's a great opportunity there that is working on. So, all of these are the examples which I'm trying to tell you, from real estate to finance to tourism to, retail, where the potential is vast. And I haven't still touched media and the other sectors, where you can see the impact that's going to come. So, yes, my thought always is that, this is going to touch our lives, sooner than later.
So certainly there's huge potential. We're talking, let's say, 5-10 years away. The market can be transformed, do you believe, in how it operates, how it works? Certainly it seems like all industries pretty much, everywhere people have a transaction or involvement are going to be impacted by this technology in some way, shape or form. Is there any particular ones that you would say, look, keeping a close eye on this trend or this innovation? Is there something that WadzPay are particularly focused on at the moment that you see as being a huge opportunity?
I think next 5 years is a very exciting period. It's blockchain was the flavor of the year, 18 months back, then got replaced by AI, but it's coming back now. People are trying to understand, AI and blockchain and all of that. And I think it's going to be incredibly exciting period. Some of the trends, like you said, or, some of the things that, we at WadzPay are looking forward to, or, are on a watch out. I think first and foremost, what I foresee is there'll be a significant surge in increased adoption in the blockchain across industries, like I said. I think as the awareness grows, more businesses will realize the benefits of blockchain. So we will see a widespread integration into various sectors beyond finance, healthcare or supply chain or government services. So I think one trend is increased adoption that everyone should be on a watch out for. So I think that's important. Second is regularity, clarity. In the terms of clarity in the regulatory frameworks, I think that'll come through. clearer regulations, frameworks. India was the president of G20, and India has done a lot of work on blockchain, digital assets, regulation. I'm sure Brazil and other countries, as they take over, will work on that. So I think, but it's also good to know that as a certainty in regulations emerge, this will encourage more businesses to explore blockchain solutions. This will also lead to more investment, and that will lead to more innovation in this space. So I think regularity frameworks are very, very important. I think the third piece, and from a trend standpoint that we are all watching, is interoperability and scalability. I think innovations will focus on solutions which are interoperable across blockchains, and are scalable. I think that is where efficiencies will get driven from. Scalability will drive utility and efficiency in the market. So I think that's the third trend that I'm very, very focused on. Fourth is about DeFi evolution. DeFi, for your listeners, is decentralized finance. I think that's going to evolve, offering a broader array of financial services on blockchain. Where you don't need intermediaries, where you don't need middlemen, where you don't need more people than necessary. I think this will, it started simple, but I think it will gradually transition to sophisticated products and improved user experience. So DeFi evolution is the fourth one. The fifth one is, which is known to everybody, but I still feel it'll enhances, NFTs and digital assets. The non-fungible tokens, they were a big thing 2 years back. They are not so big anymore, but I think they are likely to continue because they will extend beyond digital art, beyond that artwork, to various assets like real estate, intellectual property, and more areas, which will create new markets and new ownerships. So just to summarize, increased adoption, clarity in regulatory frameworks, interoperability and scalability, DeFi evolution, and NFTs and digital assets. These are the 5 trends that we are focused on. And from a WadzPay perspective, we want to be market first, user-friendly payment solution. We want to collaborate with local businesses, and we absolutely want to adopt all regulations that are going to come in, which is important. And also, I think for your listeners, they should keep an eye out on how blockchain gets integrated with AI and IoT and the new consensus mechanisms, because that is where the rubber will hit the road when it gets integrated. I think that's where my answer is.
Really fascinating, some of those points you made there. Now, it all sounds very rosy, very positive. Everything is great. Okay, so I'm going to be a bit skeptical now, because I never got the impression this is 100% guaranteed to be perfect. So there may be some chinks in the armor here. There may be some problems that may come up in the future. Now, I've no doubt that WadzPay yourself are kind of investigating and anticipating these things. As you say, AI has come onto the market. The focus on blockchain has kind of disappeared. You said about NFTs. Everybody was talking NFTs as well, certainly for artwork and such, and that's disappeared. So is blockchain really here to stay? And if it is, where do you think the risks, the challenges that are coming up, where are they coming from, and how are WadzPay planning to address those?
Is blockchain here to stay? Yes, I think it is, because typically, as I said, and this is my personal view, what we will see of blockchain now will be blockchain 2.0. We have seen blockchain 1.0. We have seen its rise and fall in terms of public acceptance, memory. I think what we'll see is blockchain 2.0, and I think it will stay. And for me, the secret sauce, like I just said earlier, is how blockchain is able to integrate itself into AI, IoT, and the other new technologies, which are consensus building mechanisms. I think that's where the point is for us. If you were to ask me the challenges, I think the trends itself double up as challenges in the way, Dave. I think regulatory frameworks, or people being aware of regulatory frameworks, I think is very, very important. And that could also be a challenge, because typically this industry also has a thing of going in, looking inside and seeing what best I can do, rather than looking at it from an outside and say what the regulators will allow and not allow. For that perspective, I think that's one. Second is the whole joy of creating something. We don't want to forget the customer. So the customer centricity, I think is something that is a challenge to keep there, because if we start to produce solutions because they sound very good to us and we feel the use, but the customer at the end is not able to use them or have a good experience, or it doesn't make a difference in their life, then I think that will be a challenge for the products, like it's happened to a lot of stuff. I think that's a challenge that is there. And I think the third is innovation. So if you look at it, typically, if you look at industries, collaboration has driven innovation, right? And I think the blockchain industry will have to come together to collaborate to drive innovation. So I think that's the key for me from the first part of your question. So I think hope that answers that.
That's really good. And you raise a really good point there about regulation. Now, we've all seen the explosion of AI, and we've also seen the fears that have come as a result of that explosion. And governments have, excuse me, have suddenly got involved with AI, and they're concerned about how it's going to impact people's lives and themselves, of course. Do you see the same kind of fear or need for scrutiny that has happened in the AI world to appear onto blockchain? Or do you think that everybody's so comfortable with the integrity of the systems, the protection that the systems offer, are going to mean that it's just going to be accepted?
I think the integrity of the system, people have comfort now because of a certain amount of time that has been passed. Also, as they say, it's become a little bit more familiar. People have started to understand it a little more than they do in AI. I think where the challenge would come from is on the application. See, when the application starts to, just like AI, when application starts to look at jobs, roles, for in the market, that is where the questions will start. When people start to experience. Now, let me take an example of a blockchain contract, right? If you do a blockchain, this has been existing for some time. It's not something new. But when it gets mass adoption of a blockchain contract, there will be nuances in the real world which will get impacted. Jobs will get impacted, skills will get impacted. How do you handle the disputes that happen? Courts will have to look at it from a regulation standpoint. All of that, when that happens, then again, just like the AI, everyone will start to say, oh, but how does it work? Is it right? Is it not right? The questions will be raised. I personally am someone who welcomes all these questions that get raised, because my point is, once the questions get raised, once the government starts to take interest, then it just kinds of gives confidence to a common man in that framework that comes up to use the technology. The guardrails are defined, and once the guardrails are defined, then I think the adoption goes higher. There is more confidence in the product or in the offering that is there. And I think that's where people start to then come in and it goes big. So for me, I think that's very, very important. Will it happen? Yes, absolutely. Not on the core, but on the manifestation.
Great. Now, I know our time is short today. I want to give you the opportunity to share with people how they could find out more about WadzPay, how they could find out more about you, and more about blockchain. Where should they go and investigate these things?
Okay, so let me break that out. WadzPay, www.wadzpay.com, or on our LinkedIn page. I think we give a lot of information out. We are a very open. If you look at our pages, we also do our own monthly periodicals where we share thoughts and ideas. That's about WadzPay. About me, yeah, I'm on LinkedIn there, and I'm very active. So you can find me on LinkedIn. It's easy. You can find me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is Amit Malik 99, which is AMITMALIK 99, which is there, and and I tweet, but I don't always tweet on blockchain and DeFi. So I tweet on a lot of things. I think from a blockchain perspective, there is a lot of material out there. But if you are, for your listeners, and I'll categorize them into a couple of buckets. First and foremost, if you really want to go deep and understand about blockchain, do a short course on any of the available online courses, which are 20 hours, 25 hours on basics of blockchain. They are enough, and they will give you a lot of information. If you are a visual type, you could find so much on YouTube, which is there, where people have done lectures and periodicals. Do that. If you don't have so much of time, I think just look at articles on which have been published already in reputed magazines like Wall Street Journal, Forbes, and other Bloomberg, which are reputed publications. Go through that, and I think that will give you enough and more information. And if you still want more, you can come back to Dave and ask him to do a podcast again.
Sure, in course. So we've got time for one more question. I'm thinking about businesses. I've been talking to a lot of businesses recently, particularly small to medium-sized enterprises whose experience and knowledge of this area obviously will be limited. Their resources are limited. So for those businesses considering adopting blockchain payment solutions, what advice would you offer them?
I'll just keep it very simple. So 5 key things to do, and very, very simple, nothing to do with blockchain terminology. I think if you are considering a blockchain payment solution, first and foremost, understand your needs and how blockchain addresses them. Don't go in to do a blockchain payment system just because it's fashionable, everyone's talking about it, but your needs and how does blockchain address them. Second, educate your team and research the available solutions in the market. So do that. Third, start small, know the regulations, comply with them, and prioritize security. I think that's the third thing if you want to start a payment solution. Fourth, choose reliable service provider and focus on user experience. I think both of them are very critical. And 5, just like any other process, evaluate, improve, and then scale. That's my advice.
Brilliant. Well, it's a great, succinct and very knowledgeable podcast we just had there today. I think some people will need to play this back. I certainly going to play this back a few times. You've released lots and lots of information for people to absorb. And obviously the sources for further knowledge and education are quite vast at the moment. So people have to go and look into those. We'll have to look at WadzPay and see what's available on your websites, and no doubt you're sharing lots of information personally as well. Certainly you're very prolific. I've seen lots of activity from you, Malik, on LinkedIn. So I think it'd be really interesting for people to follow you and listen to a lot of things that you're saying. It's very interesting stuff.
Thank you, Dave, and thank you for having me on the podcast, and thank you to your listeners for giving both of us the time. So really appreciate it.